Finally, right? Think of a mountain. Open your eyes. Did you see Patagonia? Did you see the Tetons? Did you see people? I do. My name is Majka. I'm the founder and executive director of Legato. We protect the most hyper biodiverse mountains in the world from becoming lifeless peaks. And we do it by working hand in hand with the communities who call these mountains home, like this family, the Napalakis. So here's the thing. Most people think of mountains like those iconic rock and ice skylines I just showed you, right? I should know, because in my other life, I'm a professional climber. And for the past 2 decades, the majority of my life and livelihood have been about those types of mountains. But along the way, I began to pay less attention to the top of the mountain and more attention to what was happening around the mountain. I've had the privilege to hike through some of the most verdant and pristine alpine rainforests in the world. Places that are a haven for seemingly endless biodiversity. And I've also seen the people who live in these mountains cut down and burn that same rainforest, that giant sponge, that haven for biodiversity, to sell what they can and to make room for fields. It's an act of survival that's threatening the long-term security of their home and their future. And it's compromising site after site of the world's biodiversity hotspots. Nowhere is this more dynamic and more compromising than the mountains of the Great Rift Valley in Africa. So I began working to change this in Mozambique's Mountain Mulu, a wildly understudied and unprotected mountain hotspot that we call a sky island. We launched by taking scientists with us to access previously unexplored vertical habitat as well as pocket rainforests to find new species. At the same time, we trained a local Mozambican conservation organization in how to conduct remote, mountain-based field work so that they could be our partner for the long-term work that was to come. I harnessed all the innovation, scrappiness, and teamwork from decades of running complex expeditions all over the world and brought them with me on the Muli. And I knew within a year of working there that there was no way we were going to stop, because we had a huge opportunity in front of us. This is a place where in Mozambique, for example, sky islands are 3% of the landmass and home to 30% of the biodiversity. Not only is there a wildly disproportionate percentage of biodiversity in sky islands, but because there are islands floating in the sky as opposed to in the water, every single mountain has endemic species that exist there and nowhere else in the world. So how the heck do you conserve all these places? How do you conserve this biodiversity? By working with the people who relied upon and protected these mountains for generations and generations. Legato means legacy. This is the central tenet that underpins all of our work. The first thing we do is we work with individuals and communities to define what they want in their future. How to actually catalog their future, not just their present. What do you want 10 years from now, 20 years from now? What does your community want? We do that with accelerating leadership and behavior change science. Whoops, we're going back. Little button. Then we develop alternative ways for the people who live in these mountains to feed their families and have an income. How do we do it? Through deep agricultural support. Better crops, stronger value chains, and more dependable sources of food and income. Then we work with these mountain communities to define and defend what the heck their biodiversity value is. What is the value of their mountains? So ecosystem services, why their water is important, what they can negotiate for it, why their carbon sequestration might be, why pollination is. And then we enter fair and transparent deals with these communities so that they can fulfill their wishes and needs for development by protecting their mountains, their forests, their rivers, and their fields. And we refine and repeat on each sky island until each is protected well and managed well into the future by their own communities. When I was young, I used to think of mountains as a place to escape to from the world. But mountains aren't anyone's personal refuge. They're the guardians of humanity's existence. Each sky island is home to thousands, but is the water tower for millions downstream. Legato exists to connect and protect them all. And here's the thing, when we started working on the Muli, no one thought what we were doing was possible. Mountains are super hard to work in, right? They're rugged, you can't It's undependable as to whether you can get into them. Mountain people are wicked stubborn and proud. And unless you can just annex a mountain into a larger swath of conservation, like a national park or a giant reserve, you have to come up with a singular solution. And for these reasons and others, these mountains were completely left off the map of global conservation action. Hard stop. But I have never been a fan of hard stops. So instead of all of those challenges turning me away, they inspired me to create a solution that was scalable. Legato's solution puts conservation into the hands of local mountain communities in a way that creates 3 times less deforestation than areas without similar deals. Right now we're working in 2 sky islands in Mozambique. By 2021, we're going to be working in 4 across Africa. We're currently vetting high-performing local NGOs in Ghana and Ethiopia to do that. Where could we go? Well, right now, in just East Africa alone, we could protect a swath of mountains where, for example, the endemism rate for reptiles is 25%, where there are 1,400 bird species, where every single time a study is conducted, those numbers jump up, because they've been largely unstudied and uncatalogued. The entire spine of Eastern Africa is filled with sky islands. Legato is creating a future where mountain people have the tools to have an enduring legacy to protect their homes, their future, and the watersheds of our world.